Hello and welcome to episode 9 of this Let's Play Space Exploration Factorio series. In the last episode we did a whole lot of stuff on Novice, got that up to snuff, so that its kind of performance is in sort of the place where I want it to be with all the belts and everything. We dealt with a whole lot of stuff up here in Mariel, setting up some more vulcanite, and we kind of came to terms with the fact that we've got no more ice left, and thus we have no more vulcanite blocks, and thus we don't have any iron, copper, steel on Novice, and we have no science on our platform. Whatever ice we were able to extract from Novice orbit, we have now used, and we need more. So, new plan of action is cryonite. Cryonite's the priority here. We need cryonite to make ice. So I figured, let's do that. So, there's an obvious place. Look in the thingamajig, this little Universe Explorer. And we have a planet. I've obviously just been looking at this, trying to figure out my plan. And yeah, this is the plan. This is the place where I need to come. And these are the things I need to defeat to be able to set up my base. Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a challenge. I think in my mind, I think I'm going to arrive with just turrets and walls and ammunition and artillery and that kind of thing. Maybe I need some solar panels. I might need to build like a little blueprint or something. And then who knows where I'm actually going to land. I could land on a biter's nest. Oh, who knows. What I definitely need to do is I need to set up some... I need to get back from where I am now, which is Mariel. I need to get from here back to Novice. I need to start collecting up all of the things that I need to do in order to set up this base on this hostile planet. So that I can mine cryonite and get some ice. Yeah, fun times. So, a lot of buildings going on, and a lot of talking. You know, if you... just a facet of this game. And for me, personally, I love building this game. So if you give me a factory to build, I'm just going to get my head down. I'm just going to build it. That's just the way that my process is. I love doing it. So, yeah, that's just the way it goes. And, you know, whilst we're building this thing, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking of other ways that I could approach this problem, because... it's a minor thing, really, really small thing, but, you know, at the moment, only one of these pipes is coming from outside of this block. That's the water. You know, hydrogen, chlorine, and oxygen, all of those things are kind of just dealing with interfactory processes. So I could, you know, in an ideal world, maybe move these 3 pipes into a central line in the middle in here, and have like a little mini bus. That would be cool. And that's kind of where my mind goes when I'm building this. You know, how I would approach things if I did things slightly, if I was going to do it again. You know, I'd like to think about these things. That's one of the bigger creative elements of this game, you know. And I suppose, while we're on the subject, because it's something that I've thought about a couple of times and not brought it up, let's have a look at Novice. So I have the same kind of conundrum with this, which is my main shopping mall, which is that all of these materials come in, they get produced into an engine or a gear or an iron beam or something, and then all of those stuff gets shifted out into the main bus. They all come up here, and then they pretty much all come down this kind of secondary bus into the shopping mall. So is it easier to do it on the map? So I've got all these conveyor belts coming in, they all come out, they all go up, and they all come back in again. So, you know, I think if I was approaching this again, I would just have the inputs coming in here, and then all of these would come in through, like, create their own bus of their own, and that would come up. That would be so sexy. And it would cut down all of this stuff in here. All of this mess. And we'd, I don't know, probably lose, I don't know, a third of these belts and stuff in here. Just make things a whole lot simpler in the main bus. Make that a lot less cumbersome. I think that would look just super sick. Anyway, just that's kind of by the by. That's kind of where my mind goes. So let's have a quick look through what we have. This at the bottom, this is going to be rocket fuel. So at the moment now, I am only going to be moving rocket segments from Novice. I'm not going to be moving rocket fuel. I don't know whether I've mentioned this. There's another thing. So Mariel, where it is that I'm producing my vulcanite, it pretty much takes a full rocket of rocket fuel, a full cargo of rocket fuel, in order to fuel the return trip. So one rocket to Mariel to give me vulcanite will only give me one rocket back of vulcanite, and that's not enough. That's useless. So I've got a place on there that's making rocket fuel now, and that's now reduced that burden from Novice. Now that's kind of going to have to be like a galaxy-wide solution to this. So rocket fuel I've got here, which is going to be using the hydrogen chloride oxygen recipe. But I'm also going to be doing the other one, the light oil one, which I think it's going to go here. I should have built it when I built this block. I don't know why I didn't. I think it's going to go in here somewhere. I've got all of the base ingredients for what I need for rocket fuel in here. I'll come back to this in a second. There's something else I want to talk about with this bit. This block here, this is going to be dealing with cryonite rods. So I'm trying to cover my bases a little bit. You know, I still not really sure. So I've got cryonite rods here, and I've got ice here. So by removing the ice element, it gives me just a bit more space to make more cryonite rods. I don't know which is going to be the critical thing. So I'm going to need some ice, and I'm definitely going to need ice on several planets. So having a block dedicated towards that, the production of that, is going to be useful. I also need cryonite rods for science. I think it's just science at the moment. Who knows in the future? So that's what this is going to do. This is going to make cryonite rods. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. I have a real problem with scale, in that I don't know whether this is too much or not enough. I just have absolutely no idea. So as is always the case, you know, if I need more, then I'm obviously going to build a bus in here. I can just build more of this stuff on the other side of the bus. That isn't actually the plan at the moment. The plan at the moment is Actually, if I'm going to go back to that one just for a second, if we needed more cryonite, this is where I'm going to put the train stations to bring in the raw cryonite ore. I think I would put it over here. I'd have to bring it on the other side, so of the stations, and then I'll have the bus that goes through here, because the plan is to put iron ore ingots over on this side. That's the plan, because I need several things on this platform. And I want my koverex, and I want to deal with that. I want to get it as soon as possible. So I probably don't have an awful lot of iron ore on this planet, but I'm not going to be using it anywhere else. I'm not going to be using iron ore on this planet otherwise. So for the time being, at the very least, I'm going to use the iron ore on here to satisfy the science on in novice orbit. And then if I run out, or you know, there's still the potential of these infinite fragment ore seam things. You know, it is very alluring to think that I could set up an infinite setup, an infinite base, an infinite factory production line, and it would never run dry. I could just set it up once and never have to deal with it ever again. That is very, very attractive. But I also know that dealing with those fragments creates a whole medley of other ingredients, and I don't really want to landfill all of those and just put them in a box, and B, I don't really want to deal with the logistics of shipping them across the galaxy. So although it is very attractive, the fragments, I'm just going to deal with this like an absolute newbie, and just build the production as and where I need it. You know, if that means I have more factories, I have to spend more time building factories, I have more, you know, stuff on the map, then I think that's just so be it. As I said, I do like building in this game, so if I have to build a bit of factory that subsequently I have to turn off, and because I'm going to make more iron ingots on another planet, which I'm going to run dry, and then, you know, slowly make my way around the galaxy until I get to the end of the game, that's probably the better way for me at this moment in time, rather than trying to attack the core seam fragments. Although they are very attractive. I'm certainly thinking about it. Let's just leave it like that. So over here, that's where the iron ingots are going to go. That's the plan at the moment. I mean, to be honest, that is going to be the plan, because I'm going to move the camera there and build it one way or the other. So yeah, it's going to get built. That's what happened. Anyway, so so iron ingots here. We've got the oil production here. That was what I wanted to come back to. So the oil production is, I'm trying to guesstimate stuff for the future, because there's not just iron ingots here that we can use. There's also imersite, and I have, you know, I've tried to arrange the base in a way that this patch of imersite is going to be very, very usefully placed, and it is. So I think that's going to be really useful. So I do want, you know, I want to make some other things here if I can. And imersite, the iron ore, the iron ingots, sorry, I definitely want those things. And in order to get those things, I need a whole lot of sulfur, and also I need power. So that means I need sulfuric acid to mine uranium. You know, the more things that I need, the more things I want to produce or process on this planet, the bigger the factory just gets. That's just, I'm not complaining about that fact. You know, that's all good for me. So the oil setup that I've built here, this is kind of trying to deal with those potentials for the future, you know, what I could possibly need in the future. So it's way, way, way oversized for what I need at this moment in time, which is only really heavy oil. You know, I only really need heavy oil to deal with the cryonite rods. That's all I really need. Maybe, you know, and the rocket fuel is just going to be whatever excess products at this moment in time. It's just going to be removing whatever this factory line produces that it needs to in order to meet the demands of that heavy oil. But in the fullness of time, I'm going to need a whole load of other things. Sulfuric acid, as I said. So, whereas on Mariel, I kind of built this part of the factory to deal with just the elements that it was close to, and then when I needed more of these elements, I built a whole other oil processing. Here I'm just going to, I've overbuilt the oil processing, and then in the gap that's over on here, because I'm thinking 2 blocks of iron ore ingots, And then I'm going to need something to deal with sand and the sand processing and dealing with all of the overflow of the sand and the stone. Just like on Mario, we're going to be producing that stuff from koverex and from the cryonite rods. So we need to put that somewhere. So that, we're going to have a block over there here for that. And then below that, we're going to need some iron plate and some steel plate for sulfuric acid and for uranium fuel, so I can power some damn nuclear plants. You know, and coke. You know, we're going to need, if I'm making iron ingots up here, I'm probably going to, oh, where do I go with the steel ingots? That's something I hadn't really thought about. Oh, God. I might, you know, why not make some steel ingots up here and add that to novice, maybe? So I may as well set up some stuff for coke, which means I need some greenhouses for wood. You know, all of these things start adding up. Anyway, more factory needs to get built. I'm in my happy place, so I'm just going to carry on. All good for me. Now then, I know there's going to be a fair few people. I mean, there's a comment I've had many times. It's probably the most commented thing I've had on this whole playthrough. And there's going to be a fair few of you who point out the UPS implications of what I'm building here. And I've become convinced that the reason why it's the most commented thing is because we've all made the same mistake. Like, we've all approached SpaceX with the assumption that we need a lot of stuff in order to explore space. So when we've set up our base on Novice, which is obviously the first thing we do before we can really even get to space, we've made that base bigger than it probably needs to be. We've gone with the standard Factorio mindset, which is bigger equals better, and so we've just gone big, and you know, and that's more or less what I've done. And then we can all probably approach it in slightly different directions and about how we go about getting a big factory. But I think the common thread is that we've all approached it in that way. And then once we've got to space and we've explored the recipe trees and all the things we need to do, all the things we need to research and produce, we've realised that that bigness is actually a hindrance, because, you know, we're going to be needing lots of factories in lots of places, and bigger in that respect with regards to UPS is a bad thing. And I'm imagining that you've all experienced the implications of that UPS, that low UPS thing, you know, but I haven't yet in SpaceX, and I don't think I will. So this is where my mind is with the whole UPS issue. I don't think I'm going to experience it for a very, very long period of time. You know, I'm just going to unlock one thing at a time. You know, I'm going to build one base at a time. So as I'm building the base, that's going to unlock particular materials or resources that I need in certain places. And then I'm going to be able to go back to my platform, build more science, and then that science is going to need some other resource from some other place. So I'm going to go over there, I'm going to build a factory, I'm going to get that resource, I'm going to bring it back. You know, I'm going to, the factory is never going to be going at absolute maximum along this journey. You know, the only time where it's going to be going at absolute maximum is at the end. So I don't think, this is based on my experience of Factorio, you know, vanilla and in Angel and Bob, is that the only times I've ever really experienced UPS issues is when in my mind, I've kind of completed the circle, you know. I've made it so that every process is now running as much as it can, you know, dependent on where the bottlenecks might be. And the end is the only time where all of that stuff is happening. Up until then, I'm probably going to have one factory at a time that's operating at maximum. It's going to fill up, and then I'm going to go to another one and make that one fill up. It's very segmental until I reach the end. So in my mind, am I going to have any UPS issues? Absolutely I am. I'm expecting it. I'm expecting this whole game to just fall apart because because I've approached it the same way it feels like we all have, which is that we've gone big early, and really, you know, when it comes down to it, the challenge of SpaceX, it might just be, I don't know whether it's just SpaceX, maybe SpaceX plus Factorio, because that's the set of mods I'm playing. The challenge here isn't necessarily throughput. The challenge is in logistics. You know, it's in how the pieces of the puzzle connect together. It's not actually about the individual puzzles. But anyway, UPS, yeah, I'm probably going to have problems. That's just the way it's going to happen, and I'm sure I'm going to have plenty of comments going forward in other episodes of people pointing this out. But it shouldn't happen till the end, so we should be able to complete the factory. You know, I should be able to complete this journey. The UPS shouldn't prevent me from finishing. That's how it works in my mind. And I suppose whilst we're on the topic of most frequent comments, the second most frequent comment I get is how we can use rockets to with multiple destinations if we name the landing pads the same thing. And you know, I've kind of been ignoring that piece of advice because it hasn't really come into play up until now, because I've only been really dealing with Novice, Mariel, and the Novice orbit, and there isn't really any kind of multiple rockets going anywhere that's transporting the same resource. So now that I'm up here, you know, I'm on this planet that's going to produce my cryonite and hopefully some iron ingots. So I need pyroflux. So now I need vulcanite. And so I pretty much need the exact same rocket that I've got on Mariel, which is the planet that's making the vulcanite. You know, the rocket that's delivering vulcanite to Novice, I can use that exact same rocket, that exact same setup, that exact same control panel, just by naming the landing pad the same. Now, I have kind of been ignoring it because it hasn't kind of, I didn't really feel like it was relevant, and B, I didn't really want to, I was still learning the mechanics of the cargo rockets themselves, you know, how to set them up with a logistic robot, with the satellites and logistic networks and circuit network, all of that stuff. I've been trying to figure it out. So I didn't really want to complicate things, but there is obviously a point at which, you know, by trying to keep things simple, I'm actually making things more work for myself. So I think the control panel that I've got on Mariel, which is delivering the vulcanite, I'm going to have a little play around with that, I think. May give it the potential to deliver to several places. And I want a couple of lights, obviously, to show me which places are demanding. So I think I needed to work on that a little bit at some point. And I think I need to do something similar with the cargo rocket on Novice, which is delivering the rocket parts in the first place. Because I'm going to need the exact same thing here, which is the same thing I've got on Mariel. It's going to need to be exactly the same thing. So yeah, those are the two free UPS. I'm just kind of ignoring it. Cargo rockets, you know, that multiple name, the naming of the multiple landing pads with the same name, so that we can use a single rocket to do several things. That's going to come into play very, very soon. Once I get this up and running properly. And with regards to this factory, I'll just run you through it because I suppose we haven't done that yet. As you know, up here we've got iron ingots. I've kind of decided I've decided to ignore steel ingots for the time. I've decided to ignore steel ingots. We'll see whether that's a good decision or a bad decision. At this moment in time, we're just doing iron ingots. I suppose iron ingots is all I really need for science, and science is the priority because I want freaking koverex. So I'm trying to. There might be a point where I need to add more to this factory. And in terms of, you know, iron ingot production, I have got in mind to build this exact same block here, right above it. But I want this copper. We don't have a lot of copper on this planet, so I want this copper for ammunition for my perimeter wall. So it's just one less thing. I've got that already built. Let's carry on going. I'm jumping a step. So we've got iron ingots up here with the plan for more iron ingots up there. As we work our way down, we've got iron, steel, copper, and ammunition. As I said, I don't really want to transport that in a rocket. That kind of individualizes the rocket. If I had a cargo rocket with rocket parts on it, and I put ammunition on it, I don't really want that rocket to then go to Mero at the same time. So if we're using this kind of common approach with landing pads, then I really want to have each factory. If I've got access to copper, iron, and coal, then I can make red ammunition, and that's good enough for me. And even potentially, because the next block down is uranium power, I could even make green ammunition up here. That wouldn't be out of the realms of possibility either. So it's just one less thing that I have to worry about delivering here. And this comes back to my UPS issues, I guess. I am approaching this. This is my dream approach to space exploration. If you give me this challenge, the picture in my head that I want is lots of really individual bespoke factories that are designed to do several really specific things. And I want to limit how much resources I'm moving, transporting. I'm constantly coming back to that control panel that delivers all of that. That first one that I built that went to the novice orbit, that platform. The ones that delivered all the motors and the steel and the iron, all the research. That medley of ingredients is a complete nightmare to manage. The larger quantity of material, the larger kind of variety of materials I'm trying to load onto a cargo rocket, it actually means that the less efficient that rocket can be. Because that rocket's probably only ever been full. It's only on an average level. It's probably only been about 40% full because it needs some science, and it doesn't need a lot of anything else. So I need that science. So if I don't launch that rocket, I don't get that science. So I just have to launch the rocket at 40%. That's just the way that it is. And if we can reduce that variety, then it simplifies. I can just load up this vulcanite. Having been able to load a complete cargo rocket just with vulcanite, it's vastly simpler affair. So ammunition, to go to kind of round the story, ammunition, I'm producing it all here. So this patch of copper, to kind of go buttons up here, which is really rare on this planet, I really want to make use of it. It's not a lot here, so every piece of it I want to use. And I've been running around setting up all the train stations and all of the mines and everything. So I've got oil set up here, and I've got cryonite set up. I've got stone, I think, up here, and uranium. Really it's just a case of switching it on now. Now that I've got solar power, I've got my field of solar. It's just a case of switching it on and moving some resources through the factory. And getting some cryonite rods and some ice, because then once I've got ice, I can have some infinite ice on Merial, and man, that makes my problems so much less. Just one less thing for me to worry about. At the moment, that planet is just stopped. It's completely stopped. It's not moving at all. So in terms of future, well, immediate future, I'm going to switch it. I'm going to try and get as much material into the factory as possible whilst we are here with the camera on the time lapse. And how do I want to play this? You know, I want some. I'm going to need some immosite, and I need some immosite production. I've got a field of immosite here, so it feels natural to kind of try and put some immosite processing up here. I feel like I want that as well. If I'm here building the factory, then I may as well deal with these things whilst we're here. So yeah, immosite, and maybe some other things. You know, we've also got beryllium up here, and I don't know. Have I even got access to beryllium at the moment? Oh, I do. I've researched it. So I could do some of this as well. What do I need for this? Oh, some cryonite rods. So it does have some interaction. That's not impossible. In fact, all of that is very possible. Alright, well, then we go. So, future-wise, immosite and beryllium. Let's go! Okay then, just a few little mistakes, just a few mistakes I've made or I've found out about. It's my own damn fault. It's what happens when you open your mouth and kind of make mental plans without really doing any research. You just kind of make the plans and think that everything's going to be hunky-dory in the end. And anyway, so immosite, we got this nice patch of immosite. I have no real means to process it. We need rare metals. And we don't have very much of that on this planet. Another one of those things that we don't have a lot of. Get back to that in a moment. And we also need nitric acid, which needs more rare metals, and also mineral water, which is another thing we don't have a lot of. So processing this stuff here is not possible. It's just not going to happen. But I do want it. You know, immosite's just really useful. It goes into a few kind of top tier stuff that I would really like to have, that I've set up to make in Novice, and all I really need to do is pipe some immosite plate to it, potentially some immosite quartz, crystal, whatever it's called, and I will have those should be able to get access to those upper tier things. So for the, you know, I'm just gonna put it in a rocket. I'm gonna just raw immosite ore. I'm just gonna bung it on a rocket, ship it to Novice, and process it there. It's a useful thing to have. You know, this is a thing that might change. Is almost entirely going to change in the future. You know, there's probably an immosite planet in inverted commas which produces almost nothing else but the stuff. And when I land there, if I land there, who knows? That might probably be a better source of the stuff than here. And if I'm producing it in much greater quantities and I'm setting up something a lot more seriously, and I have rare metals and mineral water, then I will just set up the whole shebang and process it all in one place. But for the time being, because that might be some time away, it's just so useful to have it that I'm just gonna put it on a rocket as the ore and process it in Novice. I don't really care about the strategy or logistical or the cost implications. I just want it. I just need it, and so I'm gonna get it one way or the other. That's just the way that it is. So anyway, that's mistake number 1. Mistake number 2, we talked about copper and how it was quite rare on this planet. Well, it turns out that coal is even more rare. I had a patch of ore that I'd set up, and I set it up, I mined it, and by the next time I checked, it all gone. All of it's gone, and all of it's been spent on red ammunition, and maybe a little bit on steel. Just maybe a little bit, just to fill the conveyor belts. That's all. I got no more coal left, and that's a real problem, because I need the coke, and I need the steel, because I need the uranium power. I need the ammunition. So, likewise with the immersite, I'm going to find a ways of delivering rockets of coal. Just with coal on it. I'm going to find a way somewhere along the line. I'm going to find a planet. We're going to land on a planet which is more abundant in coal than this one, and I'm going to use that one to ship coal here. I need it. I haven't got it. I could go back to the core seam fragment argument. I could start processing a whole load of that stuff in order to get the coal at the end, but I'm not there yet. So yeah, I'm gonna have to set up at some point in time a rocket landing pad for coal. And in the place where I was going to put the immersite, I've put beryl, whatever it is. So we've got something. I'm not gonna feed it with any materials just yet, because I haven't actually got this anywhere for this to go. I've got no requirement for it. I don't even think I've got any processes in Novice that need it. Iridium, I think I've got something that might need iridium somewhere. That seems to ring a bell, but not beryllium. So I don't really know where this is going to go. I wanted to build something, get it on the map, so that when it was there, when I need it, when I've got it, I can just come here and switch it on and plumb it in, and happy days. Yeah, so that's beryllium. And then to the thing that's probably the more important thing, the more kind of the thing that's whether the most amount of talking is probably going to take place. Let's probably leave it like that, because I've started to approach this with a much more general way. Whereas before a single rocket silo would deal with a single ingredient to a single location, they were more or less single purpose things. Now I've tried to generalize the approach so that they can do multiple locations, and I've copied them. I've made the same one and I've copied it so that they all connect together. So I think this might be a new way going forward. I'm still exploring different options, but it does feel like I'm coalescing on a final idea of how I want this to look. Don't know whether this is the right one yet, but I feel like I'm getting closer. It's becoming more and more general. Like, I've set up the circuit networks, whereas ordinarily, just to give you an example, these kind of spectrums which show how much of the ingredient is in the cargo rocket at any one time, I would ordinarily just set that up with the raw ingredient, but I've added a combinator which turns that raw ingredient into a circuit signal. So instead of having to go through each individual light and changing each one to, now all I need to do is just come in here, change this to whatever ingredient it's going to be. So this one's going to be iron ingots. I just changed this to the iron ingots. I've kind of tried, what I've tried to do is I've tried to take the lessons that I've learned on all of the ones up to this point, and I've tried to apply it with what I have here. And I am seriously considering just taking this one and copying it everywhere for the moment. I don't see any reason why that would be a bad idea. I think this is good. I think it's good. I mean, that does assume that I've set up all of these circuit networks correctly and there's not a mistake somewhere. And then I wouldn't have to go and run around fixing all those mistakes. That would be annoying. But I think this is what I'm going to copy going forward. I think it works well. So with that in mind, what I need to do... Oh, go away. What I need to do... Where's Mariel? Come on, there we go. Because I've set this one up to deliver vulcanites to Novice orbit and other places, and I've got this one down, this one in the middle here. This one is kind of dealing with this is the only rocket that's really working with vulcanite at the moment. That's delivering vulcanite to Novice. What I really need to do is I need to demolish these two big panels and convert them into one, which links with this one, which is delivering the cargo rocket parts. Maybe I need to shift the orientation. This needs some work, and I think what that work is going to entail demolishing pretty much 2/3 of what I have here already, which is disappointing. I'm not happy about that fact, but this would, you know, setting up one of these control panels for each and every rocket, each and every material, each and every destination, that's going to get tiresome very, very, very quick. If I've got a standard template that I can just copy across, that's going to be much more convenient. So assuming this one works, I think that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use this one on the planets, at least until I find a problem with it anyway. So going forwards, that's the plan. I think that's the next thing I need to do. I need to go over to Mario. I need to fix that control panel hijinks. I need to deliver some ice. You know, haven't got any ice at the moment. Now, I have actually been building up a supply of ice on Novice, ready to go. Every time I've had to go back to pick up some, I don't know, there was once when I needed to just go and pick up some combinators, like a couple of hundred combinators. So I brought back a whole shipment of ice. I've got, you know, I don't know, 50, 60,000 of ice here ready to go. So when I go to Mario and set up those control panels, I'll have something to get the factory going, and that should give me a bit more time. But the ultimate ambition is to get that ice coming in via that rocket. It shouldn't be too much work. I suppose I also need to think about the control panel here that sends the rocket parts. Let's have a quick look at that and let's see. Ooh. Where's the one sending the rocket parts? It's here. Okay, well that's not too bad. I think I can just take out the cargo, these 4 items, and put different locations in. I might need more than 4 locations. Oh, that's alright. Yeah, I can get more locations. I think that's not going to be too bad. I think I can jerry-rig what I've got here to make it work for multiple targets. And then potentially maybe just get rid of this one. Ooh, I'll think about that. Anyway, that's not too bad. I think we've got a way forward. However, for today's episode, that is it. Still no freaking koverex. We're still working on. It's just amazing. It is amazing how much effort that single thing is taking to get towards. And I'm still very, very annoyed about not having any requester chests. That's still grinding my gears. Every hour or two, I've got to go and spend 10 or 15 minutes on every single planet that I go to and move some fuel around. And every planet I go to, that issue gets worse and worse. It's grinding me. I have been sorely tempted to run around just to and run a single conveyor belt to all of my locomotives and all of my trains just to deliver fuel by conveyor belt. I've been so tempted on several occasions, and I was like, no, it's not worth it. No, we're close. We're going to get there soon. There's no point. It's just wasted effort. All you're going to do is have to take it down when you get access to these requester chests. You have to take it down. But you know, all of this added time of having to deal with this train. Oh man, train fuel. It's definitely something on every subsequent new set of mods I play. One of the first things I'm going to check out is requester chests. Like koverex is a by the by. That's meant to be painful. That's a high-end tier thing. I feel like that takes a lot of work to get to, and you get your reward at the end. But requester chests, if I have to encounter another set of mods where requester chests are in some ways off in the future that I'm never going to get access to, or at least not by the time it's useful, and I'm going to have to spend hours moving stuff around, I'm just going to put, I think I'm going to investigate any type of mod, and then if that's the case, I'm going to run a specific conveyor belt that deals with train fuel. And I haven't ever done that before on any other map. Every other map I've worked on, requester chests, I've got them, train fuel, easy peasy. Oh, it's grinding my gears. Anyway, I've had enough. That's enough of a rant. I hope it's been good. I hope that... Yeah, I've not really left it on a good note. Anyway, I hope it's been good. Till next time.